Hey everybody, Shawn here from the Automation Blog and School, and in this episode of the Automation Podcast, I meet back up with Vic Parangelo from Prosoft Technologies to learn about their remote connectivity products, including their remote connectivity gateways, as well as their cloud system, Prosoft Connect. Vic, thank you for coming back on the Automation Podcast to talk about Prosoft's remote connectivity solutions. Now, just in case the people listening, maybe not everybody caught our previous episode, could you just give maybe 30 seconds on what your role is at Prosoft?
Sure. So good morning, Shawn. Thanks for having me on the podcast again. My name is Vic Parangelo. I am the regional manager and field specialist for Prosoft Technologies in the U.S. Northeast. I'm based in New York on Long Island. I've been roaming the East Coast and Eastern Canada for the past 30 years or so as a system integrator, providing various automation solutions. Prosoft's tagline is where automation connects. So I'm solving the toughest industrial automation communications challenges for things like Industry 4.0, digital transformation, IIoT. I work to provide solutions to increase production, reduce downtime, lower operating and maintenance costs. And the Prosoft solutions focus mostly on your connectivity, optimization, monetization, and legacy system migration.
That's good. Now, I know last time we talked about the Lockout Plus, and today we're going to talk about your remote connectivity solutions, which you've kind of previewed there. And I think it's so important for people to have only secure remote connectivity solutions, because anything insecure is just it's like opening your door to all the bad actors in the world, right? Letting them into your system. So we don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and jump right into your presentation here, learn about these solutions.
Sure. Okay. So today I'm going to talk exclusively about remote connectivity. It should take about 30 minutes, and I'm going to review basically what it is, the hardware we offer, and the features and benefits to you. I'll show you some application examples and really how simple, safe, and secure it is to use. But first, a very, very quick overview of everything Prosoft. So this is what I call like the 10-mile-high overview of Prosoft. Don't feel like you have to read this image. I'm going to walk you through it. Prosoft has roughly 400 individual products. And what I've done here is lumped those 400 product offerings into 4 categories or key applications. The first one is protocol conversion. Prosoft was founded on protocol converters. Back in 1988, the founder of Prosoft needed to get Modbus data into a PLC2, so he created a gateway to do that, and Prosoft was born. Fast forward to today, we've got over 40 protocols and about 200 different hardware combinations, so whether they be Rockwell in-chassis modules or standalone DIN rail mounted gateways. So if you need a system on Ethernet IP to talk to a Profinet device or a device on HART or DNP3, we've probably got a gateway that can do that. Somebody said we're the Rosetta Stone of industrial automation communications. We also have solutions for phased migration. So in some cases, when you're modernizing, if you're not going to gut the old system, if you're not going to rip out all the old controls and drives or HMIs or I/O, if you want to do a partial upgrade, like only change the drives or only change the PLC but leave everything else old alone, we can help you with that. And we have a line of gateways that's geared specifically towards connecting legacy products on legacy protocols with current products on current protocols. So things like GE Genius, Square D, Reliance Automax, a TI 505. I could do a whole half hour on just that. We also have industrial wireless Ethernet, also known as radios, wireless LAN, industrial Wi-Fi. This is great for anywhere that you can't or just don't want to use a physical Ethernet or fiber optic cable. It's an edge device enabler. It's great for mobile applications like bots running around a distribution center, but also things like amusement park rides, automotive production lines. It's also great for replacing slip rings in rotating equipment. These radios were purpose-built for tough industrial applications, and thanks to their ultra-fast roaming capability, they actually allow you to do SIP safety over wireless. Most other industrial radios on the market can't do that. And lastly, we have secure remote access, and that's what I'm going to spend the rest of my time talking about here today. So you hear the terms thrown around, secure remote access, tunneling in. Prosoft has a cloud-based industrial remote connectivity platform called Prosoft Connect, and it's super easy to use. It's very secure. It's cloud native. It's optimized for highly reliable performance, and it's engineered for mission-critical industrial machine uptime. There are three ways in which this is typically used. It could be used on demand for secure remote access. It can be used in an always-on network connection, and it's also used for file transfers across segmented networks. So I want to focus on a couple of things. Prosoft Connect, it's cloud native, simple, secure, and managed by Prosoft. This means that Prosoft does all the heavy lifting for you. So for facilities that don't have their own secure VPN capability, this is an excellent solution when it comes to remote access. You don't have to have IT expertise. You don't have to buy and maintain expensive server on site. And it supports both on-demand and always-on type of connections with the same hardware. Every other manufacturer out there does on-demand secure remote access, but nobody out there except Prosoft also does always-on remote access as well with the same hardware and the same user interface. And I'll show you here. So this is your typical architecture of an on-demand secure remote access. Let's say I'm a machine builder and I sell a machine to Australia and I get a phone call in the middle of the night that says, hey, there's something wrong with the machine. Well, before I run off and buy airline tickets to Australia, I can create a secure VPN tunnel. I can tunnel into that machine in Australia and it's like I'm there. I can break out my studio or whatever it is. I get in, I do what I have to do, and I get out. That's secure remote access. That's on-demand secure remote access. And there's actually even no software needed on my end. And then there's this always-on type of connection. Nobody else in remote access can do this but Prosoft. It's a layer 2 virtual switch in the cloud. There's still no software needed to be installed on your end. It has increased speed and bandwidth compared to traditional radio systems, allowing you to bring back more data more frequently. We call this PDN, Persistent Data Network. So again, compared to the traditional on-demand remote connectivity solutions, this is always connected. You see this need for things like in water, wastewater municipalities, or even oil and gas facilities that have multiple geographically distributed sites. They could be located throughout the same city or within the same state, throughout the country, or even anywhere around the world. It's super easy to use. Prosoft manages the network and security for you. All you need to use this is an email address, a free Prosoft Connect account, and a web browser. That's it. It is very secure. It supports outbound connections only on port 443. There's TLS, SSL, AES 256-bit encryption, Hash1 secure hash algorithms. Plus, you can dynamically whitelist IP addresses for limited access through the gateway. And we have a feature called vLotto, Virtual Lockout Tagout. It's amazing. I'll explain this in a bit. So you can basically deploy it anywhere across the globe to do file transfers across segmented networks, anywhere there's either cell reception or a local internet connection. We did a webinar a couple of months ago where we had a guy in Boston, a guy in Dubai, and a guy in Melbourne, Australia. And in less than 15 minutes, they connected their 3 networks together over PDN. So this is kind of nifty. In addition to having a PDN network set up with multiple sites all networked together like in a mesh network, you can also do an on-demand remote access connection into that network. So as shown in the picture here, you've got this water utility with multiple dispersed, geographically dispersed assets, and somebody that's not part of that network is doing an on-demand remote connection into it. That's the guy at the top with the red line. So why would you use this? There's a lot of reasons. You can remotely connect to multiple dispersed assets, like in oil and gas or water, that's the PDN. You can lessen the time to repair. Somebody calls you and there's a problem with the machine and it's going to take you 2 days to get there, or you can just tunnel in and check it out immediately. You can decrease your own support costs. You don't have to run out to that machine every time you get a call. You can get more data more frequently for predictive maintenance or machine monitoring. You could offer additional services. Some customers use this as for revenue generation to offer these additional quick, speedy services. As I said before, eliminate unnecessary service travel. You can reduce unplanned downtime and definitely reduce the time to repair, by enabling faster support from anywhere. You could be anywhere. You could be on your yacht and you could tunnel in as long as you have cell reception. It's simple and intuitive to use. There's a single platform for device and connection management. The deployment is incredibly simple and fast. I'm going to show you that at the end here. And it's managed. It's a managed cloud native solution, with high availability, high reliability. You don't have to own anything except the gateways. What gateways? These gateways. Right? From a hardware standpoint, it's very simple. There are just two choices. There's the PLX35, which is a network bridge. So this is the wired version that you would plug into a local internet connection on the WAN side. And then there's the ICX35, the cellular gateway, which will be used for interconnecting multiple remote sites. It's that simple. So anytime I discuss these solutions with customers, I'm always having the exact same conversation with the exact same two guys. There's the OT guy and the IT guy. And unfortunately, these two guys have completely different KPIs. You see on the left here, the OT guy, he needs it highly available and reliable. He maybe wants to increase the bandwidth from what he has. He wants to be able to access it anytime, anywhere. He wants it simple and intuitive to use and maybe a corporate login. He's an easy customer. We can make him happy pretty easily. It's the guy on the right, the IT guy, where that's a longer conversation. His number one concern is security. So Prosoft employs something called defense in depth, which is basically multiple layers of security. And I'm going to walk you briefly around these circles on the right. It has two-factor authentication, which is token-based. It has IP whitelisting, so you could have a gateway out there hooked up to multiple devices, but the gateway will only allow you to see some of those devices if you want. It has single sign-on. This is huge. Nobody else in the industry has single sign-on. This is SAML 2.0. This is Microsoft Active Directory. So the IT department controls the corporate credentials that are used to log into this. If I quit, they cut me off. If I get fired, they cut me off. IT is in control. It's 256-bit encryption. That's pretty much standard. There are single-use credentials. So each time you go to tunnel in, it creates a one-time random password, and that password is only good for that one session. So I can't take that password and give it to somebody else. There is no software. I can't stress how critical this is. There is no software. All you need is an email address in order to create a Prosoft Connect account. And once you have a Prosoft Connect account, then all you need is a web browser. We have independent penetration testing. We basically pay people to hack it. There's a detailed audit trail within Prosoft Connect, so you can go in there and you can see who logged in, when they logged in, what they did, what time. But the last, and I saved this one for last on purpose, this feature just knocks the socks off of people. It's called virtual lockout tagout.
Now, Vic, before you get into virtual lockout tagout, I want to talk about just some of the highlights here of what you've pointed out. So, as you know, at the beginning of this, I mentioned how important security is and how dangerous it is not to have good security for remote access. Some of these features, IP whitelisting, single sign-on. Now, I think IP whitelisting is pretty self-explanatory, but single sign-on is important because your OT people, right? Your automation people, your controls people, your operation people, they're notoriously busy and notoriously bad about deactivating counts when people leave. But on the IT side, that is a SOP that is followed religiously. The last day at work, your account no longer works. So that is
that is a huge feature you want to have because those are the people who are going to, I think we've all know it when we've changed jobs. That's something that happens religiously, at least at most companies. Plus the 256-bit AES encryption, huge. But my favorite, single-use credentials, because I do not want to give an integrator or an OEM carte blanche. I don't want to give them just access to that they can use forever and that they can share around the office, and then the guy who I made the agreement with and what he was going to do quits, and then a new guy comes in and he doesn't know the rules, and maybe he's changing thing while production's going, whatever. If you're outside my company, you're outside my facility, you're not part of corporate engineering, you're going to get those single use credentials. And I think this ties into what you're going to be talking about here in a minute, but I think that's extremely important, along with the detailed audit trail. So if you're concerned that somebody may have connected and changed something, you can see everything that's happened in that audit trail. That's very important. So I just wanted to, especially for the audio only audience who don't have the advantage of seeing this awesome slide you have up, I wanted to just kind of run through those and talk about why I thought those were so important. And so now I'll turn it back over to you to talk about which I know you told me about, and I kind of forgot how it works. Turn it back over to you to talk about the virtual lockout tagout feature.
Okay, so I agree with everything you just said, and it's funny because I mentioned in the beginning, for the past 4 years, I've been having the same conversation with the same two people, the OT guy and the IT guy, and the conversation with the IT guy always starts out with, "I don't want that in my machine. I don't want that in my network," for all the reasons that you just stated. So this virtual lockout tagout is sort of a preemptive security measure, and here's how it works. Somebody, maybe the IT manager, is assigned as the administrator. He's the gatekeeper. No one is ever tunneling in without his permission on a case by case basis. Every time, let's say I'm the machine builder, somebody, Shawn, at your company calls me and said, "Can you take a look at the machine? But Shawn, you are this administrator." When I try to tunnel into that machine, I have to specify when I want to go in, how long, why I'm going in there, and which IP addresses I want access to that are hanging off the gateway. You are going to receive an email that says, "Vic's trying to get in. These are the IP addresses he wants to get into, and this is when he wants to get in for how long." And right from your phone, right from your email, there are two buttons: allow and deny. You can deny it or you can allow it. And there's conditions on allowing. You could say, "Yes, Vic, you can get in, but not now. You can get in tomorrow at 2 o'clock and not for an hour, only for 15 minutes. And you can't look at the PLC and the drive and the HMI and the IO. You just can look at the PLC. That's it. There can be multiple administrators, right? So when I try to tunnel in, it could go out to, let's say, 3 people. And as long as, if any one of those 3 people allow me in, I get in. If any one of them denies me, the deny trumps the allow. This oftentimes, the IT guy will sit down and say, "That's interesting," because now he is standing at the doorway of every attempt of anybody that's trying to tunnel in. So it's pretty powerful.
So think about this, right? Typically, everybody in all departments is extremely busy. There's not a lot of time to pre-plan a lot of stuff. Maybe you're doing a startup, maybe you're bringing in a new part of the facility, or maybe you're retrofitting. Having this type of system where your trusted integrator or OEM can request access, instead of you having to set it up and create the single sign-on and do all that, he can request it from you. He can say, "Hey, I get some time on Thursday that I need to, make some changes to the HMI, and I know there was some terminology you wanted to change. Would Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock work for you?" Now, the people on that list can all get that proactive email, and they can say, "Oh, all right, our OEM wants to connect on. I'm good with that." And so each of the three of them can say yay or nay, and that really relieves a lot of the burden on either the IT or OT people for having to try to schedule that and compare schedules and do all that. More of a push request from the person who wants to get in, and having multiple people on that list gives you that confidence that one guy isn't going to make a decision for a whole department. You may have to have the lead electrician and the lead engineer both agree to that, or maybe the production manager has to be in on that too. You never know, right? So, um, I don't, and I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's kind of where my mind went when you were explaining it.
Yeah, it's actually the other, I guess, use case that people like a lot is when, let's say you're talking on a machine that's running, and you could have a situation where the OEM decides to do a firmware upgrade, but he doesn't know the machine's running, right? I think that's where the lockout tagout name came from. That he's locked out of it, and when he tries to get into it, somebody, one of those administrators, would know that no, you can't get in now. It's running production, right? As an example, just one example.
Yeah, and I hope all OEMs and integrators would be wise enough not to try to change something while the system is running. So, but we can hope.
Yeah. So I have a couple more slides here. So just an example of a PDM solution, as I mentioned, it's very common. I see them used very commonly in water, wastewater applications. This one in particular was a 96 site application. The PDM, by the way, is anywhere from 2 to the largest one I've seen is 200 sites. You need a minimum of 2. This one was 96. So there was 95 remote sites. These were pump stations, lift stations, water towers scattered through the mountains with multiple cellular carriers, right? So it wasn't all AT&T, Verizon. It was a mix. The PDM doesn't care. And then the 96th site was the water wastewater treatment that you see in the picture here, and that was the wired version, right? You don't need a cellular unit in a building where you have local internet. And this was, they were converting over from copper lines. They were paying, I think, $45 a month for the copper lines, and they had some government contract where they could get $10 a month unlimited data SIM cards. So, and it's also scalable, right? They started out with 6 sites, and then they added 30 a year, 30 more, based on their budget. So just something I wanted to share. So this is sort of the key takeaways of what I've said before or so far. These 3 things at the top: single sign-on, virtual lockout tagout, and the always-on persistent data network. These are 3 things that separate Prosoft from the rest of the herd of remote access suppliers. And again, it is very simple. I keep saying simple, and I'm going to show you how simple in the next couple slides. So number 1, you buy a gateway. You either buy the cellular version or the network bridge wired version. Number 2, you create a Prosoft Connect account at prosoft.io. It's free. Now, there are versions of it that are subscription-based, but for starters, there is a free version. The subscription-based versions of it might give you some extra features and benefits. It might allow for more concurrent users, at the same time, tunneling into the same or different gateways. It really depends. We call them power users. Most of the time, the free version is good enough. After that, you create a project. Now you can think of, if I was a system integrator, a project would be like a customer. So in this image, I have 3 projects, which you could think of as being like 3 separate customers. Right? So they're completely segregated. And then within the project, you assign team members. So these are the people that also have Prosoft Connect accounts that would be allowed to access this project. Within the project, there would be gateways. You can assign different levels of authorization within these teammates. Some of them might be view only, so they can look but can't change anything. Some of them could look and change things, and some of them could have higher level access, or like the system administrator, the IT administrator, he can add teammates, kick teammates off, things like that. So there are multiple levels of I don't know what the word is, usability within team members. Then if you want to, you set up the virtual lockout tagout, the VLATO. Now, I've had some people say, oh, this is kind of cumbersome and annoying. You don't have to use it. It's there, but not everybody uses it. They just let anybody log in anytime they want. After that, you connect the hardware that you purchased to the project. And then it's as simple as clicking this button here, connect, from your web browser to start the process of tunneling in. Now, again, this would not say connect. This would say request access if you had the VLATO enabled. And then a very simple glance of what the user interface looks like here. When you get lots of metrics, this is where you would see the detailed audit trail of who was in. It would show you data usage. You can look at the team members. You can change various configuration. There's so much to do in here. And again, it's all free. And there is, I know I keep repeating myself, there is no software. Any updates are managed by Prosoft. All the security is managed by Prosoft. There's no patches. You don't have to do anything but create that free account and have access via any web browser. So that's it. I just put this list up here because there's a ton of information on the web, all tied to remote access, in particular to Prosoft Remote Access. I just end with my contact information here, but hopefully, Shawn, that was valuable to some of your listeners and viewers.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I mean, there's definitely a lot of companies have remote access products. We've had other companies on the podcast who have remote access products, and I encourage the viewers and listeners to look at them all and make their own decision. But I definitely think that you showed in this presentation some advantages, some key features of your product, which I think viewers and listeners will wanna review. And been working with ProSoft since I think we had a gas company who needed a Modbus module back in '92 or '93, and so you guys have been around a long time, very reliable, great tech support, and so we're very happy to have you on the show talking about your products, and look forward to having you back in the future. But for now, sounds like you're all set. So I just want to thank you for coming on the show again, Vic.
Shawn, thank you. It was great.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I want to thank Vic for taking time out of his busy schedule to come back on the show and bring us up to speed on Prosoft Technologies' Remote Connect products. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving us a like and a sub, and if you're listening to the audio edition, please consider giving us a 5-star review so we can grow our audience and find new vendors to come on the podcast. Now, if you're looking for my affordable automation training courses, you'll find them over at theautomationschool.com, and you can follow me and optionally support me over at automation.locals.com. With that said, I want to thank you for watching or listening to this episode and wish you a very happy, safe, and healthy week. And until next time, my friends, peace.